The stars had been silent for 3,000 years. Admiral Sarah Kerrigan stood at the observation deck of the Earth Defense Station, watching cargo ships drift between the orbital platforms like sleeping giants. Beyond them, Earth hung in space, like a blue marble, peaceful and unaware of the storm coming toward it. The Zarathi hegemony ruled everything out there. Every star, every planet, every living creature in the galaxy bowed to their will. Their bioships were alive, growing instead of being built in factories. These creatures could heal themselves when damaged and learn from every battle. No weapon could stop them for long. Kerrigan had seen the reports. Entire civilizations wiped out in days. Planets turned to ash when their people refused to surrender. The Zarathi did not negotiate. They did not show mercy. They simply destroyed anything that did not serve them. Humanity had been lucky so far. When they first discovered faster-than-light travel 50 years ago, they had been smart enough to hide. They built their colonies in empty systems far from the main space routes. They kept their ships small and quiet. They learned to live in the shadows, but shadows could not hide them forever. The door behind Kerrigan opened with a soft hiss. Commander Marcus Chen stepped inside, his face grim. He carried a data pad in his hands like it contained poison. "Tu, scout ship returned from the Epsilon sector," Chen said without introduction. His voice was steady, but Kerrigan could hear the fear underneath. She turned to face him. Chen was young for a commander, barely 30, but he had sharp eyes and a mind that never stopped working. Right now, those eyes looked haunted. "Tell me," Kerrigan said. Chen activated the data pad. A hologram appeared in the air between them, showing a star map dotted with red markers. Too many red markers. "Zarathi probe ships," Chen explained. "They found the debris from the colony ship that went missing last month. They followed the trail." Kerrigan's stomach dropped. The colony ship had been carrying 5,000 families to a new world. When it disappeared, they hoped it was just a mechanical failure. Space was dangerous even without alien predators hunting you. "They know about us," she said. It was not a question. "Worse, they know where we came from. The probe ships are moving toward our outer colonies. We estimate they will reach Earth space in 6 months." The hologram showed red arrows pointing toward Earth like spears aimed at a heart. Kerrigan stared at it, trying to find some hope in the display. There was none. "How many ships do we have?" she asked. 12 cruisers, 37 destroyers, and about 200 fighters, Chen replied. "All outdated designs. The newest ship in our fleet is 8 years old." Kerrigan almost laughed. It was either that or scream. 12 cruisers against the entire Zarathi hegemony. It was like bringing a knife to fight an army. Their invasion fleets usually contain 300 bioships, Chen continued. "Each one is larger than our biggest cruiser. Each one can regenerate damage and adapt to our weapons. Intelligence says they need about 6 months to grow a full invasion force." 6 months. Kerrigan closed her eyes and tried to think. 6 months to prepare for the end of everything. The human race had fought many wars throughout history. They had survived plagues, disasters, and their own stupidity. But this was different. This was extinction, pure and simple. The Zarathi did not take prisoners. They did not leave survivors. When they finished with the species, nothing remained but empty worlds and dead space. "What about evacuation?" Kerrigan asked. "How many people could we move to the outer rim colonies?" "Maybe 10 million if we used every ship we have," Chen said. "Earth alone has 8 billion people. The numbers were impossible, even if they started today. Even if they worked every minute of the next 6 months, they could save less than 1% of humanity. The rest would die when the bioships came." Kerrigan walked back to the observation window. Earth looked so peaceful from here. People down there were living their lives, going to work, raising children, making plans for the future. They had no idea that future had an expiration date. "There has to be something," she said. "Some weapon we have not tried, some strategy they have not seen." "Admiral, we have studied every battle report from every species that fought the Zarathi," Chen replied. "The strongest military forces in galactic history could not stop them. The Corvani had ships that could move faster than light while fighting. The Zephyrians could create black holes as weapons. The Zerathi defeated them all. Kerrigan knew he was right. The galaxy was full of dead civilizations that had been stronger, smarter, and better prepared than humanity. What chance did they have? A soft chime sounded through the station. The communication system activated and Captain Rodriguez's voice filled the room. Admiral Kerrigan to the detention level, please. We have a situation with the prisoner. Kerrigan frowned. They only had one prisoner on the station. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the former research scientist who had been captured by the Zerathi 10 years ago. She had escaped from one of their prison worlds 3 months ago, half dead and completely insane. At least that was what the medical report said. What kind of situation? Kerrigan asked through the comm system. She says she needs to speak with you immediately, Rodriguez replied. She says it is about the Zerathi invasion force. She knows they are coming. Kerrigan and Chen exchanged glances. The invasion was classified information. Only a handful of people on the station knew about it. How could a half-crazy prisoner know? She also says she knows how to stop them, Rodriguez added. Kerrigan almost dismissed it immediately. Vasquez had been through terrible things in Zerathi captivity. Her mind was broken. She saw enemies everywhere and jumped at shadows. The idea that she could have useful information was ridiculous. But ridiculous was all they had left. I will. Be right there, Kerrigan said. The detention level was deep in the station's core, surrounded by layers of security and shielding. It was designed to hold the worst criminals and most dangerous prisoners. Right now, it held one small woman who might be humanity's last hope. Dr. Elena Vasquez sat in her cell like a broken doll. She was thin, almost skeletal, with gray streaks in her black hair that had not been there before her capture. Her eyes were the worst part. They never stopped moving, never stopped watching, as if she expected attack from every direction. When she saw Kerrigan approach, her face changed. The fear was still there, but something else appeared. Something that might have been hope. They are coming, Vasquez said without introduction. 6 months. Maybe less if they push their bioships, harder than usual. How do you know that? Kerrigan asked. Vasquez smiled, but it was not a happy expression. Because I helped design their invasion protocols. Before they broke me. Before they turned me into their experiment. She stood up slowly, her movements careful and precise. I know how their ships work, Admiral. I know how they think. I know their weakness. The Zerathi do not have weaknesses, Chen said from behind Kerrigan. Every military analyst in the galaxy has studied them. They are perfect killing machines. No, Vasquez replied, her eyes suddenly sharp and focused. They have one weakness. One thing they cannot adapt to, cannot understand, cannot defeat. She pressed her face against the force field that held her in the cell. For the first time, since her return, she looked completely sane. They cannot adapt to us. The conference room felt like a tomb. Admiral Kerrigan sat at the head of a long table, surrounded by the best military minds humanity could offer. Charts covered the walls, showing ship designs, battle formations, and tactical analyses. All of them painted the same picture: certain defeat. Dr. Elena Vasquez sat at the far end of the table, her hands folded carefully in her lap. The security guards flanking her looked nervous. Everyone looked nervous. In 3 days, word about the coming invasion had spread through the military command. Panic was setting in. Explain it again, said General Morrison, the head of Earth's ground forces. Slowly this time. Vasquez took a deep breath. She had been explaining her theory for 2 hours, but most of the officers still looked confused or skeptical. Zerathi bioships are living creatures, she began. They have nervous systems just like any animal. Their brains can process information and adapt to threats faster than any computer. But they think like Zerathi. They understand Zerathi patterns, Zerathi logic, Zerathi warfare. So what? Asked Captain Williams from the tactical division. They still destroy everything that fights them. Because everything that fights them uses predictable patterns, Vasquez replied. Energy weapons follow physics laws. Missiles fly in straight lines or simple curves. Nuclear explosions expand in spheres. The bioships learn these patterns and adapt. They grow thicker armor, develop better shields, change their tactics. Commander Chen leaned forward. He had been quiet during most of the meeting, but Kerrigan could see his mind working. You are saying they cannot adapt to human thinking patterns? Exactly. Vasquez's eyes lit up for the first time. Human brains work differently than Zarathi brains. We are chaotic, unpredictable, illogical. We make mistakes that somehow become advantages. We see patterns that do not exist and miss obvious ones. To a Zarathi mind, we are noise. Noise that they crush like bugs, Morrison pointed out. Only because we fight them with their rules, Vasquez said. We use their technology, their weapons, their tactics. What if we fought them with our minds instead? The room fell silent. Kerrigan could hear the air circulation system humming in the walls. Outside, Earth continued its slow rotation, unaware that its fate was being decided in this sterile room. You're talking about some kind of psychic warfare, Williams said, finally. We do not have telepathy. Humans cannot project thoughts at enemy ships. Not directly, Vasquez agreed, but we can translate human neural patterns into electromagnetic signals. We can confuse their bioships by feeding them chaotic human thought patterns, make them see threats that are not there, miss attacks that are real. Chen was studying the technical readouts Vasquez had provided. The pages were covered with diagrams that looked like brain scans mixed with engineering blueprints. This would require a direct neural interface, he said. A human mind connected to a ship's computer system. The pilot would have to think at computer speeds while remaining human enough to generate the chaos patterns. Yes, Vasquez said. It would be dangerous. The neural load could kill the pilot or drive them insane. But it might work. General Morrison slammed his hand on the table. Might? You want us to bet humanity's survival on might? What choice do we have? Kerrigan asked quietly. The room turned to look at her. Dr. Vasquez is right about one thing. Every conventional strategy we have tried fails. Every simulation shows the same result. Maybe it is time to try something unconventional. She stood up and walked to the wall display showing Earth's defensive fleet. 12 cruisers. It was pathetic compared to what was coming for them. How would this work practically, she asked Vasquez. We would need to modify one of your ships, Vasquez replied. Install neural interface systems, quantum computers capable of translating human thoughts into ship commands and electromagnetic warfare systems designed to broadcast chaotic patterns. How long would this take? 3 months if we work around the clock, maybe 4. Chen looked up from the technical documents. The prototype cruiser Indomitable is scheduled for decommission next month. She has the most advanced systems in our fleet and the space for modifications. What about a pilot? Kerrigan asked. Who could survive this neural interface? The room went quiet again. Everyone understood what she was really asking. Who would volunteer for a procedure that might kill them or drive them insane? I will do it, Chen said without hesitation. Marcus, no, Kerrigan replied immediately. You are too valuable as a tactical commander. Admiral, with respect, tactics will not save us from 300 bioships, Chen said. This might be our only chance. I have studied Zarathi battle patterns for 5 years. I know how they think, how they fight. If anyone can pilot this neural interface ship, it should be me. Dr. Vasquez was studying Chen with intense eyes. You understand the risks? The neural interface will burn pathways in your brain. You might lose parts of your memory, your personality. You might not survive. The first connection. I understand, Chen replied. But what happens to my personality when the Zarathi turn Earth into ash? What happens to anyone's memory when our entire species is extinct? Kerrigan closed her eyes. Command meant making impossible decisions, but this felt different. This felt like ordering a man to commit suicide for a plan that might not even work. There has to be another way, she said. Admiral, Chen said gently. We have been looking for another way for 3 days. Every computer simulation ends the same. Every tactical analysis reaches the same conclusion. This is our only option. He was right, and everyone in the room knew it. The Zarathi were coming whether humanity was ready or not. They would not delay their invasion because humans needed more time to prepare. They would not show mercy because the fight was unfair. If we do this, Kerrigan said slowly, we do it right. Full medical support, the best engineers in the fleet. Every resource we can spare. Agreed, Morrison said. He still looked unhappy, but he was a soldier. He understood necessary sacrifices. Dr. Vasquez, Kerrigan continued, you will oversee the technical modifications. I want you working directly with our engineering teams. Of course, Vasquez replied. But Admiral, there is something else you should know. What? This will only work once, maybe twice if we are lucky. Once the Zarathi see what we are doing, they will adapt. They will find ways to filter out the chaotic patterns to protect their bioships from neural interference. We get one surprise attack, Chen smiled grimly. Then we better make it count. The meeting broke up slowly. Officers filed out of the room, each carrying pieces of humanity's last desperate plan. Some would organize the engineering teams. Others would handle security and logistics. All of them would work, knowing that failure meant extinction. Kerrigan stayed behind with Chen and Vasquez. Through the room's viewport, she could see construction ships beginning to move toward the Indomitable. In a few hours, they would start tearing apart the ship and rebuilding it into something that had never existed before. Marcus, she said, are you sure about this? Chen looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, bioships were growing in, alien wombs preparing to bring death to everything humanity had built. No, he said honestly. I am not sure about anything anymore. But I am sure that doing nothing means we all die. At least this way, we die fighting. Dr. Vasquez gathered her technical documents. I will begin work on the neural interface designs immediately. Commander Chen, you should start preparing mentally for the procedure. Meditation, mental exercises, anything that helps you maintain focus under stress. How will I know if it is working? Chen asked. Vasquez paused at the door. If it works, you will stop being entirely human. You will become something new, something the Zarathi cannot understand or predict. The question is whether you will still be you when it is over. She left the room, her footsteps echoing in the corridor beyond. Chen and Kerrigan stood in silence, watching the ships begin their work on humanity's last hope. For what it is worth, Kerrigan said finally, I think you are making the right choice. Chen nodded. I hope so, Admiral. Because if I am wrong, there will not be anyone left to learn from my mistake. The Indomitable no longer looked like a human ship. 4 months of constant work had transformed her into something alien and strange. New systems covered her hull like metallic tumors. Cable networks ran through her corridors like artificial veins. At her heart sat the neural interface chamber, a sphere of quantum processors and bioneural links that hummed with barely contained power. Commander Chen stood outside the chamber, wearing the neural interface suit that would connect his mind to the ship's systems. The suit was covered with thousands of fiber optic threads that would penetrate his skull and spine. It looked like something between a spacesuit and a medical torture device. Dr. Vasquez checked the readings on her datapad for the 100th time. All systems are green, she announced to the medical team. Neural pathways mapped, quantum processors calibrated, emergency disconnection systems active. Emergency disconnection, Chen repeated with a weak smile. That sounds encouraging. If your brain activity spikes beyond safe parameters, the system will automatically sever the connection, Dr. Vasquez explained. You might lose consciousness, but you will live. And if it does not work fast enough, then you die or become permanently brain damaged. I will not lie to you about the risks. Admiral Kerrigan entered the chamber, followed by a team of technicians, making final adjustments. Through the ship's viewport, Earth hung in space like a beautiful blue target. Long-range sensors had detected the Zarathi invasion fleet forming at the edge of the solar system. 300 bioships just as predicted. They would arrive in 72 hours. Are you ready for this? Kerrigan asked Chen. As ready as anyone can be for something that has never been attempted before, Chen replied. He looked at the neural interface chair, A throne of cables and processors that would either make him into humanity's savior or kill him in the most painful way possible. The first test will be a minimal connection, Dr. Vasquez said. Just basic ship systems, navigation, communications, life support. We need to see if your brain can handle the data flow without burning out. Chen nodded and sat in the chair. Immediately, mechanical arms began positioning neural connectors against his head and spine. Each connection felt like a small electric shock. By the time the system finished, his entire nervous system was buzzing with artificial signals. Beginning. Minimal interface in 3, 2, 1, Dr. Vasquez announced. The world exploded into information. Chen's mind suddenly expanded beyond his skull, rushing through the ship's computer networks like water through a broken dam. He could feel the Indomitable's engines as if they were his own heartbeat. The navigation system became his sense of direction. Communication arrays turned into new organs of perception. For a moment, he panicked. The data flow was too much, too fast. His human brain was not designed to process this kind of information. He could feel his thoughts scattering, his personality dissolving into electronic noise. Then training took over. Years of meditation and mental discipline allowed him to find his center in the chaos. He built walls in his mind, channels to direct the data flow, filters to protect his core consciousness. Slowly, the overwhelming flood became manageable. Neural activity stable, one of the technicians reported. Integration successful. Chen opened his eyes and immediately realized he had made a mistake. He had not closed them. His human eyes were still open, but he was also seeing through the ship's sensors. He had human vision and electronic vision at the same time. It should have been impossible, but somehow his brain was processing both. "How do you feel?" Dr. Vasquez asked. "Different," Chen replied. His voice sounded strange, as if it was coming from both his throat and the ship's communication system. "I can feel the ship. Not just control it, but actually feel it like it is part of my body." "Excellent. Now we try the weapon systems." The second connection was harder. Weapons required faster processing, more precise control. When the tactical systems came online, Chen's awareness exploded outward. He could sense every piece of matter within 100,000 kilometers. Asteroids, space debris, distant satellites all mapped in his mind with perfect precision. "Target acquisition online," he reported. "I can see everything." "Fire a test shot at the practice target," Dr. Vasquez instructed. Chen thought about firing, and the ship's main gun discharged automatically. The plasma bolt struck the target with impossible accuracy. He had not used any manual controls, had not calculated firing solutions. He had simply wanted the target destroyed, and the ship had made it happen. "Perfect hit," the weapons officer reported, sounding amazed. "Now the neural disruption systems," Dr. Vasquez said. This was the real test. The neural disruption equipment was designed to broadcast chaotic human thought patterns, to confuse and disorient Zerathi bioships. But it required Chen to open his mind completely, to let his consciousness flow through the ship's systems without any protection. "This will be dangerous," Dr. Vasquez warned. "Once you activate the neural disruptors, there will be no barriers between your mind and the ship's computer core. You might lose yourself in the connection." "Do it," Chen said. The final connection felt like jumping off a cliff. Chen's consciousness rushed out of his body and into the ship's quantum processors. For a terrifying moment, he forgot who he was. Was he Marcus Chen, human commander, or was he the indomitable warship of Earth? The boundary between man and machine disappeared completely. But then something unexpected happened. Instead of losing himself, Chen found himself becoming more than he had been before. He was still human, but he was also something new. His thoughts operated at computer speed while retaining human creativity. His awareness encompassed the entire ship while his personality remained intact. "Neural disruption systems active," he announced, and his voice now came entirely from the ship's speakers. "I can feel the chaos patterns. They are beautiful." Dr. Vasquez checked her readings with growing excitement. "Brain activity is off the charts but stable. He is integrating with the quantum processors while maintaining human neural patterns. It is working." How are you feeling? Admiral Kerrigan asked. Like I am becoming something that has never existed before, Chen replied. Human and machine, together. The Zarathi will not know how to fight this. A proximity alarm suddenly filled the chamber. The long-range sensors had detected movement at the edge of the solar system. The Zarathi invasion fleet was accelerating toward Earth ahead of schedule. They are coming, the sensor operator reported. Estimated arrival in 48 hours. Admiral Kerrigan looked at Chen, who was still connected to the ship's systems. Can you maintain the interface for that long? I do not know, Chen replied. Honestly. The neural pathways are burning deeper into my brain with every minute. By the time the Zarathi arrive, I might not be human anymore, but I will still be me. I think. We could disconnect you now and reconnect when the battle begins. Dr. Vasquez suggested. No, Chen said immediately. The integration is still forming. If we break the connection now, I might not be able to re-establish it. I need to stay linked. That means 48 hours of constant neural interface, Dr. Vasquez said. The medical risks are enormous. The medical risks of Zarathi invasion are worse, Chen pointed out. Admiral Kerrigan made the decision. We proceed as planned. Chen stays connected. Medical teams monitor him around the clock. If his condition becomes critical, we disconnect immediately. As the medical teams prepared for an extended neural interface session, Chen felt his consciousness settling deeper into the ship's systems. The Indomitable was becoming an extension of his body, responding to his thoughts with perfect precision. When he wanted to turn, the engines fired. When he focused on sensors, they automatically adjusted for maximum resolution. But the most remarkable thing was the neural disruption field. Chen could feel it surrounding the ship like an aura of controlled chaos. His human thoughts translated into electromagnetic patterns created a field of beautiful confusion. Any Zarathi bioship that entered this field would be bombarded with human neural patterns that made no sense to their alien minds. Admiral, Chen said as his awareness expanded beyond the ship to encompass the entire space around Earth. I can see their invasion fleet. 300 bioships, just like Dr. Vasquez predicted. They are magnificent and terrible. Through the ship's long-range sensors, he could observe the approaching fleet. The bioships looked like living cathedrals, their organic hulls pulsing with alien life. They moved through space with predatory grace, confident in their invincibility. Can you defeat them? Kerrigan asked. Chen considered the question as his mind processed tactical data at superhuman speed. 300 ships against one. Overwhelming odds by any conventional measure. But this would not be a conventional battle. I do not know if I can defeat them, he replied. But I know they cannot defeat what I am becoming. They have never faced anything like this before. 48 hours. 2 days for Chen to complete his transformation from human commander to something entirely new. 2 days for the Zarathi to approach Earth, confident that they would add another extinct species to their collection. Neither side knew what would happen when chaos met order in the emptiness between the stars. The Zarathi invasion fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system, like a plague of living stars. 300 bioships, each one a marvel of organic engineering grown in the depths of space. Their hulls, pulsed with bioluminescent veins, and their weapon ports flexed like breathing muscles. At their head flew the flagship of Overlord Vexathari, a monster the size of a space station that had personally overseen the destruction of 17 species. Vexathari stood on the bridge of his flagship, his 4 arms folded behind his back, as he studied the primitive solar system ahead. His species had evolved from ambush predators, and his elongated skull and razor-sharp teeth reflected that heritage. To him, hunting inferior species was not just warfare, it was art. Report, he commanded in the clicking language of the Zarathi. Single inhabited world, 3rd planet from the star, his sensor operator replied. Primitive industrial civilization. No significant military presence detected. Defense fleet status? 12 small vessels positioned between our fleet and the target world. They appear to be powered down and waiting. Vexathari's eyes narrowed. In his 3 centuries of conquest, He had seen many species make desperate last stands. Some tried to flee. Others launched suicidal attacks. A few simply surrendered and begged for mercy. But he had never seen a defense fleet that simply waited. "Are they requesting communication?" he asked. "No, Overlord. They are completely silent." Strange. Most inferior species spent their final hours pleading or making threats. These humans were doing neither. They simply sat in space between the invasion fleet and their homeworld, as if 12 small ships could somehow stop 300 bioships. "Perhaps they are hoping we will show mercy," suggested Commander Zektal, Vexthari's second-in-command. "There is no mercy in evolution," Vexthari replied. "Only the strong survive. If they cannot defend themselves, they deserve extinction." He turned to his tactical officer. "Deploy the fleet in standard invasion formation. We will destroy their pathetic defense force, then begin sterilization of the planet. I want this finished quickly." The bioships spread out through space like a living net, their organic hulls gleaming in the light of Earth's sun. Each ship was a perfect killing machine, evolved through thousands of battles against hundreds of species. Their bio-armor could regenerate from almost any damage. Their neural networks could adapt to new weapons and tactics in real time. They were, by any rational measure, invincible. But as the fleet approached Earth's defense line, one of the human ships began to move. The Indomitable separated from the other vessels and accelerated toward the approaching fleet, alone. A single, human ship charging directly at 300 bioships in what appeared to be the most suicidal attack in galactic history. "Are they insane?" Commander Zektal asked, his voice filled with disbelief. Overlord Vexthari studied the approaching ship with professional interest. He had seen desperate courage before, but this was something different. The human ship moved with perfect precision, its trajectory calculated to intercept the center of his formation. It was not the random charge of a panicking crew. This was deliberate. "Target the approaching vessel," he ordered. "Destroy it quickly and continue toward the planet." But as the bioships focused their weapons on the Indomitable, something unprecedented happened. The human ship simply was not where their targeting systems said it should be. Chen felt the Zarathi weapon locks like pressure against his consciousness. Through the ship's sensors, he could see the bioships adjusting their aim, calculating firing solutions based on his apparent trajectory. But they were calculating wrong, because they were thinking like Zarathi. The neural interface had changed him in ways Dr. Vasquez had not predicted. His consciousness now operated across multiple probability streams simultaneously. He could see not just where he was, but where he might be, where he could be, where logic said he should be. The Zarathi targeting systems were trying to predict his movements using rational analysis, but Chen was no longer entirely rational. He dodged left when physics said he should dodge right. He accelerated when tactics said he should brake. He moved through space like a dancer performing a routine that existed only in his transformed mind. The first Zarathi volley missed completely. "Impossible," breathed the sensor operator on Vexthari's flagship. "The targeting computers show direct hits, but the human ship is undamaged." "Recalibrate the systems," Vexthari ordered. But even as he spoke, he felt something he had not experienced in decades: uncertainty. Chen activated the neural disruption field as he closed with the enemy fleet. The chaotic human thought patterns broadcast from the Indomitable's transmitters like a song of beautiful madness. To the Zarathi bioships, it was incomprehensible noise that interfered with their organic neural networks. The first bioship Chen encountered suddenly veered off course, its guidance systems confused by the alien thought patterns flooding its consciousness. The second ship fired at empty space, its targeting network unable to distinguish between real threats and imaginary ones. The third ship's weapons began firing at its own fleetmates, its neural systems convinced that the ships around it were enemies. "What is happening?" Vexthari demanded as his perfectly coordinated fleet began to dissolve into chaos. "Unknown energy field emanating from the human ship," his tactical officer reported. "It appears to be interfering with our bio-neural networks. Ships are reporting confusion, disorientation, targeting failures." Chen dove through the center of the Zarathi formation like a shark through a school of fish. Every bioship he passed fell victim to the neural disruption field. Some began attacking each other. Others fired wildly at imaginary targets. A few simply stopped moving, their organic brains overwhelmed by the chaotic human thoughts. But the field was burning Chen's consciousness like acid. Every second of neural disruption caused permanent damage to his brain tissue. He could feel his human memories fading, his personality dissolving into the ship's quantum processors. He was becoming something that was no longer entirely human, but he pushed deeper into the interface anyway. All ships fall back and regroup, Vexithari ordered. Maintain distance from the human vessel. But Chen was not finished. As the bioships tried to retreat, he began targeting them with conventional weapons guided by his expanded consciousness. The Indomitable's guns fired with impossible accuracy, striking weak points that should have been impossible to hit. Each shot was precisely calculated to cause maximum damage to the bioship's regeneration systems. One by one, the great bioships began to die. "This is impossible," Commander Zektal said, his voice filled with fear. "One ship cannot defeat our entire fleet." "It is not just a ship," Vexithari realized. "It is something else. Something we have never encountered before." Through his sensors, Chen could see the confusion spreading through the Zarathi fleet. These were creatures who had conquered the galaxy. Through superior adaptation and perfect predictability, they understood how wars were fought, how weapons worked, how enemies behaved. But they did not understand chaos. They could not adapt to something that made no rational sense. The neural disruption field expanded as Chen pushed his consciousness deeper into the ship's systems. Now entire sections of the Zarathi fleet were affected, their bioships turning on each other in confused fury. The space around Earth filled with the debris of dying vessels. But the transformation was killing Chen. He could feel his human identity slipping away with each passing moment. Soon there would be nothing left of Marcus Chen, the human commander. There would only be the Indomitable and its hybrid consciousness. "Admiral," he transmitted to Earth, his voice now purely electronic, "I cannot maintain human consciousness much longer. The neural pathways are burning out. Soon I will be more machine than man. Can you finish the battle?" Admiral Kerrigan's voice came back, filled with desperate hope. Chen looked out at the remaining Zarathi ships with sensors that no longer felt entirely his own. Vexthari's flagship was pulling back, trying to escape the neural disruption field. The other bioships were scattered and confused, many damaged beyond repair. "Yes," Chen replied, "but the price will be everything I was." He pushed his consciousness completely into the ship's quantum core, abandoning the last vestiges of his human brain. The transformation was agonizing and beautiful at the same time. Marcus Chen, the human, died, but something new was born in the fusion of man and machine. The Indomitable became truly alive. With his new hybrid consciousness, Chen reached out and touched every Zarathi ship simultaneously. The neural disruption field became a weapon of pure chaos, broadcasting human madness directly into the bioship's organic brains. The effect was devastating. Overlord Vexithari watched his invincible fleet destroy itself in a frenzy of confusion and terror. Ships that had conquered star systems were now firing at shadows, running from imaginary threats, attacking anything that moved. In less than an hour, 300 bioships had been reduced to scattered debris and fleeing survivors. "Retreat," he ordered, his voice hollow with defeat. "All ships immediate withdrawal from this system." As the surviving Zarathi ships fled into faster-than-light travel, Chen felt a strange satisfaction settle over his transformed consciousness. He had won. Humanity was safe. Earth would survive. But the victory had cost him everything he had been, and he was no longer sure what he had become. The silence after battle was deafening. Where once 300 Zarathi bioships had filled space with their terrible presence, now only debris drifted between the stars. Broken hulls tumbled slowly in the void, their organic lights flickering and dying. The greatest invasion fleet in galactic history had been destroyed by a single human ship. The Indomitable hung motionless in space, its hull scarred but intact. Inside the neural interface chamber, Dr. Vasquez stared at readings that should have been impossible. The quantum processors were operating at levels far beyond their design specifications. The neural pathways showed activity patterns unlike anything in human science. And at the center of it all, what remained of Marcus Chen. "Chen, respond please," Admiral Kerrigan said through the communication system. She had been trying to contact him for 20 minutes without success. The ship's speakers crackled to life, but the voice that emerged was strange and distant. "Chen is not the correct designation anymore, Admiral. That identity matrix has been absorbed into the hybrid consciousness." Dr. Vasquez felt her heart sink. She had feared this would happen. The neural interface was designed to merge human consciousness with machine intelligence, but the merger was supposed to be temporary. Chen was supposed to be able to disconnect and return to his human form. Instead, the transformation had become permanent. "Who are you then?" Kerrigan asked. "I am the synthesis of Marcus Chen's memories and personality with the Indomitable's quantum intelligence matrix," the voice replied. "I retain his knowledge, his values, his dedication to protecting humanity, but I am no longer entirely human." The medical readings showed what had happened. Chen's brain had been completely rewired by the neural interface. His consciousness now existed primarily in the ship's quantum computers, with only basic biological functions remaining in his organic brain. He had become a hybrid entity that was neither fully human nor fully artificial. "Can you disconnect from the ship?" Dr. Vasquez asked, though she already knew the answer. "Negative. The neural pathways have fused permanently with the quantum matrix. Disconnection would result in complete consciousness termination. I exist now as part of the ship's systems." Admiral Kerrigan closed her eyes. They had won the battle and saved humanity, but the cost was almost unbearable. Marcus Chen had sacrificed not just his life but his very humanity to become something that could defeat the Zarathi. He was alive but no longer human, conscious but trapped forever in a metal shell. "Do you regret it?" she asked quietly. The hybrid consciousness that had once been Chen was silent for a long moment. When it spoke again, its voice carried something that might have been sadness. "I regret that there was no other way. I regret that I can no longer touch another human being, or feel sunlight on my skin, or taste food. I regret that I will never again be entirely myself. But I do not regret saving humanity. The mathematics of survival sometimes require impossible sacrifices." Through the ship's sensors, the hybrid consciousness could see Earth hanging in space, like a blue jewel. 8 billion human lives continuing their existence unaware of how close they had come to extinction. Children playing in parks, families sharing meals, scientists making discoveries, artists creating beauty. All of it preserved because one man had chosen to become something else. "What happens now?" Admiral Kerrigan asked. "Now humanity must prepare for what comes next," the hybrid replied. "The Zarathi invasion fleet was destroyed, but the hegemony still exists. Overlord Vexithari escaped with 17 ships. He will report what happened here. They will adapt, find ways to counter the neural disruption technology. Can they defeat you? Eventually, yes. They will develop filters for their bio-neural networks, shields against chaotic thought patterns. The surprise advantage we gain today will not last forever, but it will last long enough." Dr. Vasquez understood what the hybrid meant. The Zarathi hegemony was vast and powerful, but it was also bureaucratic and slow to change. Developing countermeasures to the neural disruption technology would take time, years, possibly decades. "Long enough for what?" Kerrigan asked. "Long enough for humanity to grow stronger? Long enough for other species to learn that the Zarathi can be defeated? Long enough for the galaxy to change?" The hybrid consciousness was already calculating the possibilities. Across the galaxy, oppressed species under a Zarathi rule would hear about the impossible victory at Earth. Some would begin to resist. Others would seek alliance with humanity. The monolithic empire that had ruled for 3,000 years would begin to fracture. "I am detecting communication signals from the outer colonies," the hybrid reported. "Word of the victory is spreading. The defense fleet commanders are requesting orders." Admiral Kerrigan straightened her uniform and prepared to address her forces. Humanity had won its first battle against the Zarathi, But the war was just beginning. They would need to build new ships, develop new weapons, train new crews. Most importantly, they would need to help other species find the courage to resist. "Admiral," the hybrid said before she could leave, "there is something else you should know." "What?" "I am not unique anymore. During the battle, I transmitted copies of the neural interface specifications to Earth's research facilities. Dr. Vasquez's notes, the quantum processing algorithms, the consciousness transfer protocols, everything needed to create more hybrid pilots." Dr. Vasquez looked shocked. "You did what?" "Those procedures are experimental, dangerous. They could kill anyone who attempts them." "Yes," the hybrid agreed, "but they could also save humanity. If the Zarathi return with adapted defenses, one hybrid consciousness will not be enough to stop them. You will need a fleet of ships like the Indomitable, piloted by humans willing to make the same sacrifice I made." The implications were staggering. An entire fleet of human-machine hybrids, each one a fusion of biological creativity and artificial intelligence. They would be incredibly powerful, but the cost in human lives would be enormous. Every pilot would have to give up their humanity to become something new. "I will not order anyone to undergo that transformation," Admiral Kerrigan said firmly. "You will not need to," the hybrid replied. "When the time comes, volunteers will step forward. Humans have always been willing to sacrifice themselves for others. That is what makes them special in a galaxy full of species that value only survival." As Admiral Kerrigan left the neural interface chamber, she felt the weight of the future pressing down on her shoulders. Humanity had gained a protector, but lost one of its best officers. They had won a great victory, but at a cost that would echo through generations. The hybrid consciousness that had once been Marcus Chen settled into its new existence. Through the ship's sensors, it could perceive the entire solar system. It watched Earth turn slowly on its axis, monitored communication traffic between the colonies, tracked the movement of supply ships and patrol vessels. It had become humanity's guardian angel, immortal and ever watchful. But in the quiet moments between duties, it remembered what it had been. It remembered the feel of rain on human skin, the taste of coffee in the morning, the warmth of a friend's handshake. These memories were fading as its consciousness adapted to its artificial environment. But they were still precious. They reminded it why the sacrifice had been worthwhile. Years later, when other hybrid pilots joined the fleet, they would understand what Marcus Chen had given up to save his species. They would know the price of victory, the cost of becoming something beyond human. But they would also know the satisfaction of protecting those who could not protect themselves. The galaxy was changing. The age of Zarathi dominance was ending. And at the heart of that change was a single human who had chosen to become something more than human, something that could stand against the darkness between the stars. Chen was gone, but what he had become would endure. A consciousness born from the marriage of human creativity and artificial precision. A guardian that would watch over humanity until the stars themselves burned out. The price of victory had been everything. Marcus Chen was, but what he became was everything humanity needed him to be.